wants to prove that he has a family, is a forgiving person, has a kind heart. But standing in front of him now is too much pressure from his family and his love for Tu Diep and me. What choice will he make for himself? Do you have any advice for him? Let's watch today. James sat alone in the large boardroom, once filled with celebration banners, architectural drawings, and congratulatory speeches when he was promoted to CEO. Now, it was silent, empty. Rain tapped gently against the tall windows. The earthy scent of damp wood filled the air, a scent James once loved but now barely noticed. He was exhausted, not just from work, but from something heavier, the weight of a decision he couldn't shake, a choice between the company he built and the family he was losing. That morning, his wife, Tu Diep, had called. She asked to meet at their old coffee shop, the place where they had shared many memories before success and responsibilities changed everything. When James arrived, Tu Diep was already there, waiting. There was no warmth in her smile, only questions in her eyes. She asked if he had booked her ticket to come to his country. He dodged the question, saying work was too hectic. But she knew something was wrong, and James couldn't hide it any longer. He looked at her and said it directly. I fired our son from the company. Tu Diep was stunned. Their son had stood by James's side through the hardest years. He had managed teams, overseen construction projects, handled clients. He was the future of the business, their family's legacy. But James didn't flinch. He's been dating a divorced woman, he said sharply. A single mother with a child. That woman was Diep, and her daughter, little Nee, was 5 years old. Tu Diep couldn't believe her ears. You fired our son for falling in love? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. What about all he's done for you? For the company? James shook his head. Jaw tight. People are talking. Our company's image is at stake. My reputation is at stake. I can't let him bring shame into this family. Tu Diep stared at the man in front of her. She no longer recognized him. Are you willing to lose your son just to protect your pride? But James had no answer, only silence and the sound of his own heartbeat pounding in his chest. When he returned to work, there was no time to reflect. Problems piled up. The lumber shipments had arrived, 30 tons, but it might not be enough for the month. Quality concerns arose. Workers were quitting in droves. His assistant suggested raising wages and cutting hours to keep people from leaving. James gave the green light, though he knew it would stretch their already thin budget. Then came the real crisis, the financial reports. 2 major construction projects were underway. The first, a bridge in Tan Minh, had just completed its foundation. The second, a rural development project, was 90% finished. But the numbers didn't add up. They had budgeted 3 billion VND. They had already spent 4.1 billion. James demanded a breakdown. What was spent? Where? And why? He wanted clarity. Transparency. If we want to become a real company, he told his assistant, we need real numbers, not guesses. And then, just as he tried to regain control, it happened. His assistant entered the room with a grim expression. Sir, there's been an announcement from the chairman. James looked up. From now on, the assistant said, hesitating, we are no longer allowed to follow your instructions. The chairman, your father, has removed you from your position. James froze. His father, the man who taught him how to run the business, had stripped him of everything. No warning. No explanation. Just a decree. James was no longer CEO. He had lost the company he built. His legacy. His power. That night, James sat in the same boardroom. Alone. Rain still fell outside. He opened an old photo on his phone, a family picture, himself, Tu Diep, and their son during simpler days. Then a message arrived from his son. Dad, I'm sorry if I've disappointed you, but I love her. I love Diep. And I love little Nee. I never once regretted it. James felt his throat tighten. In all the meetings, the balance sheets, the contracts. He had forgotten what it meant to simply love, and to be loved. He had chosen control over connection. Now, he had neither. A few days later, Tu Diep received a letter from James. It was handwritten. I used to think that work was everything, that honor and reputation were the foundation of a family. But now I know, a family cannot stand without love. I've lost my title. I'm no longer CEO. But at least, I'm still a father. I've returned to Vietnam. I want to see our son, and Diep, and little Nee. I don't want to protect a company if it means I have to destroy my family. James had finally made his choice. He chose love. He walked away from power, from prestige, from the company he built. But for the first time in years, he was walking towards something that felt real. He wasn't a CEO anymore. He wasn't a successful man in the eyes of the world. But he was a father, and he was finally home.